So Tennessee did pass the bill that will arm the teachers. That was their answer to gun violence. And as a Tennessean and as a parent, I'm just sitting here in disbelief, to be honest with you. I knew that I lived in an extreme state. I knew just how fascist they truly were. But I really thought somewhere in them there had to be a voice of reason, and no one could actually be for this insanity. And that's exactly what it is. To put this added stress on teachers and to expect teachers to be able to protect the children in that type of situation, it's just the most ridiculous thing that it's the most ridiculous argument that I've ever heard. We do have good voices here in Tennessee who fought the good fight and still are fighting the good fight, trying to shout down this madness. And one of those people is my good friend Gloria Johnson. And she makes an excellent point here in this clip. Take a look.
We know in a gun battle with trained police officers, they only shoot with 18% accuracy. Imagine a teacher with far less training in a shoot back and forth situation when there are kids everywhere. When you miss, it's a child that could be killed. And the reality of this is we have done everything and we'll keep trying to prevent the guns from ever getting into the schoolhouse door. We want the guns to not get near the schoolhouse door. They are trying to bring the gun battle into the classroom.
See, the problem with these extreme gun nuts is that their arguments fall apart real quick if you think about them for just a second. You know, they will come up with these catchphrases, they'll come up with these cliches and these one-liners, they'll whittle them down, they'll put them on a bumper sticker, and people gets a kick out of it. But if you actually stop and think about it, you realize these arguments don't hold water. Like, for example, I remember the first time I heard someone say, well, the only thing to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. And just for a split second, I went, yeah, that's true. And then I said to myself, okay, if the police show up and all hell is breaking loose, how are they to determine in that moment who the good guy is? That argument falls apart real quick. And then you got the classic one, well, if guns kill people, then spoons make people fat. Well, that one falls apart real quick because you can't walk into a place or a classroom and just mow people down with a spoon. So that don't make any sense. And then to say, well, let's just arm the teachers, man. Not even the cops always shoot with perfect accuracy, and they're trained. They're trained to do it. And now you want that science teacher who you're mad at for teaching your kids science. You want that history teacher that you're mad at for teaching your kids about slavery. You want that person now to have the added stress of protecting your child, and you think some untrained teacher is just going to be able to stand there and in that moment is going to be able to take care of business. Everybody thinks that they can be the hero in that moment. I'm telling you, you've watched too many damn movies, okay? You're not Boyd Crowder. No matter how bad you may think you are, you're not Jax Taylor, okay? It don't work that way. You're not Walter White. I know some of you in my parts are really trying to be Jesse Pinkman. You might be Jesse Pinkman's flunkies at best. But you're not going to be able to pull this off the way that you think you are. But this whole argument, I believe, goes much deeper than just arming the teachers. The fascism here in Tennessee is so off the charts. I almost feel that this whole move was done for other reasons. And Justin Jones makes a great point here. You got to hear it.
Is this putting too much responsibility on teachers? If, let's say, they're paralyzed by fear during a school shooting and they can't shoot, or they accidentally shoot a student or anybody else, could they be blamed for what happens?
That's the point we got no clarity about, is who has liability. They refuse to answer that because the real liability is on the governor and my Republican colleagues. And let me just, I want to say this too, that this is really also about, I've been thinking about this in my head, about trying to make parents afraid to send their kids to public schools. Because so many parents I've talked to in my district have called me, emailed my office saying, we don't know if we can send our kids to schools anymore because we're scared. And it's really about this idea of trying to destroy public education, which the governor's been trying to do, and pushing guns in our communities. And now they're in tandem. And so teachers are not asking for this. They're asking for more supplies. They're asking for psychologists and counselors, better pay. No teachers in Tennessee are asking to have this law to allow them to carry guns. It's insanity and it's morally inexcusable.
And Governor Lee, couldn't he have allowed the bill to become law even without his signature? I mean, the fact that he signed it, he wanted to put his name on this bill, what does it tell you?
I mean, it tells us that our governor has no conscience and no courage. He lost a friend in the Covenant mass shooting, one of his wife's friends, and he told us he was going to do something to rein in gun violence. And he's failed Tennesseans. He's bowed down to the extremists, and he's really about arming these extreme elements in our community. Because not only are we talking about arming teachers, but the governor has allowed the Proud Boys to come to our Capitol armed. They've allowed neo-Nazis to march 3 blocks away from the Capitol, where I am right now, to march armed. And it's about arming these extreme elements in our community that are leaving us with trauma and terror. And it's at the expense of our children's lives. And he should be ashamed of himself. And it is a dereliction of duty and a dereliction of his oath to office that each of us take as elected officials in Tennessee.
Democratic State Representative Justin Jones, let's just put it this way. I'm really glad you were voted back in office. And thank you so much for our conversation.
So I have 5 kids and a grandson. My oldest 3 kids have already graduated high school, but I've still got 2 sons, 12 and 6. It's got a long way to go, and my grandson's about to start Head Start, so I'm going to have to be dealing with this bullshit for a long time. And when I first told my parents about this bill passing, the first thing they said was, well, is there some way we could take them out of public school? And that's exactly what they want us to say. That's what they want us to do, because the real war is on public education. That's why they double down so hard on all of this anti-woke bullshit. They do not want your children learning about history. They do not want your children learning science. They do not want your children learning about anything that rocks the boat and goes against what them and their church teaches. At the end of the day, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to run everyone out of public schools so that they can teach them exactly what they want to teach them. And that's why they just keep these stupid-ass arguments going about spoons make people fat, man. If they can keep everybody just focused in on stupid jokes like that and keep everybody scared shitless, then they can completely do away with public education. That's what they're out to do anyway. When you hear them going off on these anti-woke rants, that's what it's about. People, we're going to have a whole generation grow up not understanding racism. Think about that for a minute. Think about all the people out there who are raising children to, when they are confronted with racism, they say, oh, it's just woke. Ain't no such thing as that. That ain't real. How many times has that been said? How many times has that been uttered? And those kids are going to grow up. So if you think this is over, if you think that it's all just going to go away, I'm not trying to be a pessimist here. I'm really pulling for the young people and the women to vote and pull us out of this mess. But right now, they're raising their children, and they're raising them in total ignorance and in total fear. And one day they're going to be at the polls voting too. So that's why we just have to continue to stand here, fight the good fight, tell the truth, be on the right side of history. Because, folks, we're in for a long fight. We are in for the long haul, trust me.